This is Newslink, keeping you up to date on the latest news, information, and issues brought to you by the Camellia Rose chapter of the Links Incorporated. Welcome to Newslink. I'm Dr. Katrina Covington Whitmore, a member of the Camellia Rose chapter of the Links Incorporated and the co-chair of the Public Affairs, Legislative Issues, and Discovery Recovery chapter. We have a lot of things that we want to talk about this evening, a lot of issues that we want to discuss, and a lot of guests that are ready to talk to us about those issues. And one of the things that we really want to talk about is talking about this point to remind you that your questions are welcome and we will answer as many as we can, time permitting. So let's begin with the recently observed national holiday that is especially close to the hearts and minds of African Americans, the remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a pastor, an activist, and fallen leader in the civil rights movement. Voting rights and equal treatment under the law formed the tenets of Dr. King's philosophies, and part of that equal treatment included his belief in access to affordable health care. In March 1966, just before the annual meeting of the medical committee being held in Chicago, Dr. King was quoted as saying, "We are concerned about the constant use of federal funds to support this most notorious expression of segregation. Of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhumane because it often results in physical death." Almost 60 years later, health, specifically health in the Black community, is still an area of inequality and concern. Currently, and this comes from a local recent study, a recent policy issue, Georgia is listed as one of the worst states in the country in which to give birth, especially if you are Black. A Black mother or birthing person in Georgia is twice as likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than their white counterparts. It does not have to be this way. More than 80% of pregnancy-related deaths are preventable, and state-level legislation can help create the condition in which Black mothers and birthing people can thrive. And this information comes from a policy brief co-authored by Director of Economic Justice Ive Finch Floyd and Director of Health Justice Leah Chan. To that end, the recently convened Georgia legislative session has a number of bills up for consideration that would provide a more level playing field to members of the African American community. And we are pleased to welcome someone who has played a huge role in the fight to get a bill passed in this year's session, Safira Zayas. Safira is an entrepreneur, the mother of 4, and a proud grandmother who is deeply committed to creating alternative pathways to maternal care in efforts to eradicate maternal mortality for mothers and their families. As the founder and owner of Birth Respondents and Spa Dulala, she provides services specializing in reproductive and antepartum care. Safira, thank you for being with us. We are so happy to have you here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Katrina. I appreciate you.
Oh, we appreciate you so much. Now, you're a doula, so can you explain to exactly what it is, a doula, and the kind of things that you've seen firsthand that point to the inequities in the healthcare system here in Georgia?
Yes, ma'am. So, again, I'm Safira Sayes. Thank you for having me. And as a doula, I'm a trained professional. I provide continuous care for a mother prenatal, during labor, and even postpartum. I advocate for her. I teach her and her family how to advocate for themselves, because sometimes you want, not sometimes, most times you want a mother to be able and a father to be able to represent themselves, so you give them the knowledge and the foundation of how to represent themselves. I give comfort measures and just do a plethora of birth companion activities.
So, what are some of the inequities that you've seen, and where are they especially prevalent?
The inequities from the statistics show that women, Black women, more so than any, along with Indigenous, Native American women, they're in danger at the hospital, which was where all the statistics come from, unfortunately. And my own personal experience, I haven't done lots of home birth. I'm sorry, lots of hospital births as of the recent years because of the inequities that they pose onto the moms. But the last one I did, I had a mother who actually had meconium, which is when the baby takes their first uh, fecal movement within the womb. And when something like that happens, you have to watch the mother very closely, because you would want to opt into a cesarean, which I would never just promote, right, before being able to do your natural birthing. But when meconium is at play, it's dangerous for a baby to ingest. It can cause sepsis, it can cause death, and severe brain damage. And so my last experience was that when I noticed that she had meconium, I asked, what are you all going to do, a C-section? Because it was a lot. And they said, no, nowadays we just give antibiotics. And I mean, hours went by. And as soon as the baby was born, the baby was in intensive care, respiratory therapy. The child is now damaged. And so things that I thought, even as a seasoned doula and advocating, I still was not able to stop an inequity in the space of a very well-known hospital here in Atlanta. So
Mhm.
that told me a lot about the system, and what hospitals you really have to watch out for, because you do have to remember that a lot of these hospitals are practicing. They've got a lot of students there, and they need to have certain situations arise so that they can learn from them.
And what kind of situation do you see like in the rural communities? I mean, we found something like this happening in the city. Does it happen
Right.
like this in rural communities as well?
What's happening in the rural communities is that the women don't have access. The hospitals are far, the OBGYNs are far and in between. Right now, I believe, if it's still 80 counties in Georgia, do not have OBGYNs in their vicinity, which is part of how and why birth responders came into play, for me to be boots on the ground and literally be able to go into rural areas and serve.
And so that's what birth responders does.
That's what birth responders is activating. Yes.
And what is that exactly? So give
What I
us a little
mean
bit.
is that that's why I created the business, so that we can start to go into rural areas and assist in the system of birthing, like not so we could do telehealth, we could do prenatals, and we would have different birth professionals together, working together, so that those women who can't get to a hospital that or a doctor that's not there for
Mhm.
them, we can now bring ourselves with quick response vehicles and different means, so birth responders would come in and fill that gap.
Okay, and you recently testified for a bill that you felt really strongly about. And
Mhm.
my understanding was it was based on a personal tragedy that you had experienced.
Well, the personal tragedy is how I got into birth work. When I was 17, I gave birth to my first son, and in the interim of labor, I coded and I was resuscitated. When I woke up, I was in ICU. I had a tube down my throat, and no baby was found. 7 days, they told me your baby is in another hospital. At the time where I was from in New York, they did not have a NICU close, so I was in Mount Vernon, New York, and my baby was in New York Hospital in Manhattan. I did not meet my baby for 7 days. I had a roommate who had a baby on the same day as me. I watched her hold her baby, feed her baby. I would visit the nursery, and I'd just be looking for my baby. And on that seventh day, I saw my name and I saw my baby. And I was the first time I was ever, to be with that child. And it's like, wow, it took 7 days. And I should have been taken with my child. There was so
Right.
many options that could have happened, but
Right.
so that is what compelled me. And I had C-section, right? Because I had to be resuscitated. So I had to have an emergency C-section. And so I didn't want anyone to ever, any woman feeling that way and going through that, being without her child, and then having postpartum issues of like, did I really have a baby? Am I really a mother? Am I really a real woman?
Mhm.
So all of those things played out to me. And if it wasn't for me embarking on the doula world, I would have never healed, because with each birth, I realized that I had a birth emergency. And that's why my situation, was the way it was.
Okay, and you recently testified about Senate Bill 334, which was presented by Senators Jackson of the 2nd, Harbison of the 15th, Lucas of the 26th, and Henson of the 41st, and Jones of the 10th. So could you tell us about some of those provisions of the bill and why you were so strongly in support of it?
Yes, ma'am. So let me correct what exactly. Senate Bill 334 was the first bill that the Community Midwives National Alliance wrote and presented. Uh, and with the help of Senator Jackson, who is now retired. That was in 2019 to 2020. Senate Bill 334 has now gone on to Senate Bill 81, which is
Mm.
currently on the floor of the Senate, has not been passed yet, and is now being sponsored by Senator Anderson of the 43rd and a plethora of other representatives and senators. So, but when we wrote 334, our goal was to have community midwives be able to go out into the community and service those rural and other city areas that have disparities. The thing is whether you're in the city or you're in rural, if you're Black, you have a disparity,
Mhm.
unfortunately, here in Georgia. So our goal was to create other pathways. The community midwife bill is a traditional based type of midwife. She's not a certified nurse midwife. She's more on the traditional realm. She's still trained. She still has a lot of hands-on um, technique and skill, and she's knowledgeable. So we wanted all pathways to be able, more pathways, we should say, to be open, because we are in a state of emergency in Georgia when it comes to our maternal mortality.
Okay, and what kind of support are you getting for this? Do you have any kind of a feel as to how it's going?
Yeah, so the bill is still on the floor. It is early in the session. I'm not quite sure. I haven't been at any of the any hearings as of right now, but we do have House Representative Park Cannon, who is always representing for the midwives and reproductive justice and anything anything to do with women. So Park Cannon is definitely one of the representatives that hold a flag up, Senator Anderson, and many, many more.
Okay,
And
and what
they're
else would you
following in the shoes of House Representative Abel Mabel, who we consider the mother of reproductive justice here in Georgia, and coining that actual name.
Okay, and what more would you like to see the legislature do, Safira?
I would really love to see the midwife bill passed. I would love for us to have more access to care and expansion, and be able to stop being well known in the States for how our women die,
Mhm.
and be leaders, because here in Atlanta and in Georgia, abroad, like, we are well known to have a culture of setting the trend. So the trend should be that we are now taking birth serious, and our mothers and our families and birthing people serious, and supporting life.
And we hope so much that that bill passes. And we'd like to thank you so much for your insight and your ongoing fight for Black women's rights in the field of healthcare. And I hope that we can have you back again. We'd love to have you talk about some other aspects.
Thank you so much. I would love to come back.
Thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
you and all you're doing.
Thank you so much. And we definitely appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And other groups and organizations are meeting with Georgia legislators to express their concern about some of the many vital, potentially life-changing bills and legislation they are set to consider and vote on this session. And one of those organizations is the Links Incorporated. Links across the southern states will be gathering at their respective legislatures to talk with their state representatives to discuss, ask questions, and urge passage of a number of bills important to Black voters. Georgia chapters are no exception, and Links will be making their presence known during Links Day at the Capitol. And here to talk with us about that endeavor is the co-chair of Links Day at the Capitol, Tramel Howard, who is also the president of the West Georgia chapter of the Links Incorporated. Tramel, welcome. And before that, I think we're going to look a little bit.
Women live long enough to see their children grow up. Today, the state capitol hosted a public hearing on Georgia's maternal mortality crisis. The CDC says from 2018 to 2020, 113 women died from pregnancy-related issues. Now, Black women had a higher rate of deaths per birth than white, Hispanic, or Latino women. Our State House reporter Abby Casores reports that people are calling this a state of emergency.
This isn't just a statistic, y'all. It reflects real lives and families broken.
Buffy Purcell says her Aunt Dee Dee is one of dozens of Georgia women who die each year because of pregnancy complications.
Leaving behind a daughter who has to live with the fact that her birthday is the same day her mama died.
Black women are 3 times more likely to die during childbirth. More than 50,000 women nationwide, like Demita Bishop, experience a near miss.
Until I just finally sunk unconscious. When I woke up 3 weeks later, I had a baby. They don't believe our pain when we say we're hurting. And if we're telling them what's wrong, they don't listen to us.
According to the Georgia Department of Public Health, 89% of pregnancy deaths are considered preventable, driving the statistics Georgia's healthcare system. According to a report from the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute, more than half of Georgia counties don't have any OBGYNs or just 1 or 2 options. Minority Leader James Beverly is calling for a full expansion of Medicaid.
You got to have health insurance. The number one predictor of poor health outcome is not having insurance. You don't have insurance for 450,000 Georgians right now. How does that make sense? 150,000 people just got lopped off of Medicaid. How does that make sense?
Many state advocacy groups and healthcare providers pointed to specific bills already presented that they feel could help mothers.
I urge you to take immediate action. Let's ensure that all Georgia women are heard, believed, and given the medical care they deserve.
Those state lawmakers are working on a report summarizing some of the testimony that they heard here today. Then they'll give that report to all state lawmakers at the start of the legislative session, which begins next week. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Casores.
Long lost twin?
Of Links Day at the Capitol, Tramel Howard, who is also president of the West Georgia chapter of the Links Incorporated. Tramel, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Rena, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about Links Day at the Capitol. What exactly can we expect? And, there's some changes this year. We'll talk a little bit about that too. But first, just an overview of Links Day at the Capitol.
Sure. So Links Day at the Capitol, we will have the 16 chapters that are in the state of Georgia convening in Atlanta, Georgia on February the 4th and February the 5th. So Sunday, we have planned a legislative reception as well as a program that we will have some special surprises for our attendees, where we're going to talk about really sort of sharpening your political focus and thinking about whether you'd like to run for office and demystifying some of the thoughts that specifically women have when thinking about whether or not they might run or whether they are qualified to run. And so one of our co-chairs, Chair Shantice Jenkins Floyd. She has been planning the event for Sunday. She's the lead, and we're really excited about that event on Sunday. On Monday, we will have our Advocacy Day, and we will focus on 3 areas. You've talked about one, maternal health. So we will be talking about Black maternal health, as well as discussing the HBCU land grant funding and mental health. So those are the 3 areas that we will discuss. And we have 250 members who have registered and plan to be in Atlanta over the next weekend into Monday.
Why do you think something like Links Day at the Capitol is important? What do you think the focus, and what do you think it serves?
Sure. I think it's important, one, just for our legislators to know that we care about issues that impact our community. It's an opportunity for the members to get together to actually talk about those issues, and then to bring in policy experts that can give us information to arm us, not only to maybe go and talk to our legislators on our own behalf, but also to go back into our communities armed with information and to really educate our communities on these specific issues.
And so that's the kind of the call to action, is when you go back after you've talked to the legislators and getting some idea of what it is you kind of want them to do for us.
Absolutely. And this year we will, as we did last year, we will have a call to action after we've gone through our program, and we are planning to stay in touch this year, not just wait and come back together next year for Links Day at the Capitol, but to have some programming and some initiatives throughout the year. So we're really excited.
Okay, and we're excited about it too. So just give us another quick recap of when it is and what we can do. And
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So on Sunday at 5:00, we'll have our legislative reception and program that will be held at the Georgia College of Law. So we'll have that on Sunday at 5 p.m. And then on Monday, will be our Advocacy Day. And on Monday, we will convene at the Sloppy Floyd building, where we will have breakfast and talk about those important issues that I mentioned: the HBCU land grant funding, mental health, and Black maternal health. And so
Tramel, thank you so
that's our
much.
plan.
We wish we're going to have success. It's going to be a big success, and we're going to get all of those things passed. I just have that feeling, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for giving us this opportunity just to remind our members and to be a part of the program.
Okay, thank you so much. With this
Thank you.
focus on health, we certainly want to share with you what the Camellia Rose Health and Human Services facet is doing to promote good health. They had a community walk for healthy living event in collaboration with Link chapters around Atlanta. And our community, as you know, probably suffers from many diseases due to a sedimentary lifestyle. And this annual event gets the community up and moving with a reminder that walking is one of the easiest and most effective forms of exercise. There was also a mental health awareness at Carver YMCA, and this addressed the growing issue with a number of people, and it had a journaling session for girls and a rap session with a counselor for boys, along with tools and strategies for handling anger, sadness, depression, and other mental health concerns. Links in Pink, Fight Like a Link initiative is fighting breast cancer, and it's made it a year-round effort. And Health and Human Services has held several events to increase breast cancer awareness. Still ahead, coming in February. February is National Heart Month, and the Camellia Rose chapter will be a sponsor at the Women with Heart Luncheon, a fundraiser to provide scholarships to Morehouse School of Medicine. There's going to be a virtual Red Dress Town Hall event on February 2nd, which is open to the community. So we urge everyone to please get out and come to that. And then the big thing is the Black Family Wellness Expo, which is coming in March of 2024 at the Greenbrier Mall. And this national initiative was launched last year with great success, and had more than 400 attendees. So mark your calendar for this year's cluster event. We'll have screenings for diabetes, hypertension, memory loss, kidney disease, breast cancer, dental screenings, and lots more. And there's also going to be a blood drive, a fitness walk, activity for kids, and entertainment. This is going to be provided free to the community, so please plan to join us. And that is something that we would like to invite everyone to take part in. It's a new program that's being initiated, and it's also introduction to our partners who are going to be providing us with this information periodically during our podcast. And we'd also like to have the person that's in charge of that's kind of spearheading that effort to come talk to us as well. But the church that's going to be helping spearhead that effort and is going to talk to us about biometric screening comes from Flipper Temple, and I am very happy to introduce the Reverend Gregory Eisen, who is a very well-known person in the Atlanta area. He has a history of religion. He's the pastor of Flipper Temple AME, a church in Atlanta. He's a native Georgian. His accomplishments are many and too extensive to name here, but I did notice that you did have a thesis that dealt with some kind of sensitive issues in terms of the Black community. And we'd like to talk to you, Dr. Eisen. Thank you, first of all, for being with us. We appreciate your being here. We're going to talk about that biometric screening and Choose Healthy Life and the grant that you all have been getting. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why you think that it's important to promote a program like this in a church, which is kind of like promoting all around health, the physical, the emotional, and the mental, as well as the spiritual.
Thank you so much for having me. There is some very serious health disparities in the African American community that calls for all hands to be on deck, especially the African American church, which is one of the most trusted institutions in our community. And with the health disparities being as they are among African Americans, it is vitally important that our spiritual leaders and our churches are at the forefront of advocating for better health for African Americans. And also, as pastors, we get the opportunity to see people dying prematurely, out of season, from various diseases like cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, just to name a few, sickle cell disease. So it is imperative that the African American church is out front, not just talking about the spiritual needs of our people, but also the physical and mental needs and emotional needs of our people.
So talk a little bit about this grant you received that talks a little bit about biometric screening. What exactly are we talking about? We saw the promo, but can you give us a little bit more detail about exactly what that involves?
When I heard about Choose Healthy Life grant, before I knew that there was funding, when they talked about bridging the gap with health disparities in the African American community, I was on board already. This grant is taking place in several cities around the nation, like Washington, New York, Detroit, Newark, and we're happy to have this program also in Atlanta. There are 10 churches that are involved, and we are also excited about being in the forefront of Choose Healthy Life. Choose Healthy Life is funded by several partners, including Quest Diagnostics. And we encourage people to go to Quest Diagnostic Centers to get free testing, lab work, over $2,000 of absolutely free lab work. And after between 6 and 8 weeks, you will receive a magazine telling you how to live a healthy life, and not just give you the results, but also how to correct the results if they are out of compliance. So this grant can make a solid difference in the African American community, again, to cut back on the number of persons suffering from heart disease, cancer, strokes, kidney disease. So we're really excited about the possibilities of what can happen through Choose Healthy Life. And we are encouraging everybody to be a part of this program. If our people do not have health insurance, this is a way that they can really get a grip on where they are health-wise. And there's so many diabetes, heart health, liver health, kidney health, bone health, thyroid health, many, many more, over $2,000 worth of free health screenings through Choose Healthy Life.
So if someone wants to take part in Choose Healthy Life, what is it that they need to do?
They can simply call Flipper Temple AME Church and ask for our health navigator, Chelsea Glasgow, and we will get in contact with you, offer you an opportunity to get this free screenings. Again, call Flipper Temple AME Church, and we will certainly be blessed. Leave a message with our health navigator, or you can leave that message even with the senior pastor. I'll make sure that she gets it. And you'll be blessed. I have had the screenings, and the magazine just offers comprehensive results that give you an opportunity to overcome whatever health challenges you have. So we will be excited to serve you. Just simply call us at Flipper Temple.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eason. And we can also issue a challenge right now that everybody listening and everybody that hears this message, that they take part in the biometric screening.
Yes, and thank you for having us. And we really, really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing more about that and having you back again, because, like I said, your resume your CV was too hard and too long and extensive and impressive, but there are a number of areas there, like in the history and in health, that we'd really like to talk to you more in depth about. So we hope that you'll come back.
I'd be honored. I look for the invitation.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And as you may know, the Links Incorporated's 5 facets: the arts, health and human services, international trends and services, national trends and services to youth, form the foundation of the service pillar of our organization. It's 2 main pillars of friendship and service. With this edition of our podcast focusing on health, we highlighted the activities our health facet has been involved with, but our arts facet has been busy as well, as all 5 of our facets have been. They get very busy and they get lots of work done. And some of the things that we'd like to highlight right now in the community spotlight, action, and that's where the facet rolled out the red carpet for the latest editions of that series at the Village at Carver Family YMCA this month. It was a masterclass in intro to writing for film. And our very own Camellia Rose Georgia link, Wendy Ellie Jackson, the founder of Auburn Avenue Films and a lecturer at ACSB, led the session. She presented the art of storytelling, revealing the secrets behind crafting compelling characters, pilots, and the pivotal role of the villain. Students were enthralled as Wendy explained how a writer's idea is the seed that grows into the sprawling tree of film production by giving reason for every role, from cast to crew, makeup artist to sound techs. There's a lot more involved with that, and it's going to be launching its 23-24 Links Poster Art Competition, and that's going to be a national program. The theme is My Community's Health and Wellness Begins with My Family and Me. So please stay tuned and consider involving the young artists that you know and other people that might be interested in getting involved in this endeavor. And there are gifts and everything for our talented youth who take part in this particular endeavor. Well, we've had a lot to talk about. In closing, we'd like to introduce you to another group of Camellia Rose that keeps busy in health, and they are the Camellia Rose Steppers.
We are the Camellia Rose chapter of the Links Incorporated, which is a national organization that's based on friendship and service. We started walking during COVID. We had all been cooped up and locked up for so long. So we started walking on this trail, and it was just so nice to be with each other after being in seclusion for so long. A couple of years ago, National had a 75 million steps challenge. As a chapter, we have done over 52 million steps, which is more than a trip around the equator. So we're very excited about that. We're walking for healthy living. If you could only do one form of exercise, by far, walking is the best form of exercise. I find walking to be meditative. Not only is it good for the body, it's good for your spirit, it's good for your mind. And I think we all feel so much better after a walk. And the trail is absolutely beautiful.
And I hope the time went as quickly for you as it did for us. That's going to do it for this latest edition of Newslink. I'd like to thank our guests, Safira Zayas, Tremel Howard, the Dr. Gregory Eason, and we appreciate the time that you've given to talk with all of us. To all of you, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time.